Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome all of you to Umez.com, the place where we are interested in liberating the African minds. We believe sincerely that when the mind of a leader is well liberated, that leader will believe in himself and his own people. He will believe that charity begins at home and not abroad or in Swiss bank. He will believe that leadership is action, not a position. He will believe that leadership is parenthood. Just as parents take care of their own children, leaders must also take care of their own people. Above all, that leader believes in true patriotism, the love of a country. As such, will form an effective leadership that will move his country forward. Today, we're going to focus on the apparent miseducation of African children. We believe sincerely that African children, especially black Africans, are being educated to feel inferior to the people of other racial groups. There are damning, serious consequences when children are being miseducated to feel inferior to people of other racial groups. It's about time to address this serious issue. Now, how are the children of black Africans being miseducated to feel inferior to the people of other racial groups? I'm going to use Nigeria as a case in point. This is by no means to suggest that Nigeria is the sum total of the entire black African countries. No. However, Nigeria commands the greatest population among all black African countries. So Nigeria is a good representative of African people. Growing up in Nigeria was not easy for me. I lost my dad at the age of 3. My mom never went to school. Up to today, she cannot recognize her name on a piece of paper. To make the matters worse for me and other children situated like me, we were constantly being educated by our leaders, by our mentors, by our educators to feel inferior to the people of other racial groups. A typical Nigerian, a typical African, we look at telephone after making phone calls, seeing all the wonders of technology. He will say, wow, the white men are spirits. They are wizards. He will consider the cars, automobiles. He will consider computers. He will look at aircrafts. He will look at all scientific breakthroughs, all technological discoveries, and will tell us that Japanese people, American people, Swiss people, German people, Chinese people, Italian people, they are all wizards. They are ghosts. They are demigods. And their lands are the lands of opportunity. And their countries are the God's own country. What does that tell a child? It tells that child that he is inferior. His own people are inferior. Miseducation doesn't stop there. When I entered high school, I discovered that there is apparent miseducation going on. We were told And the children are still being told today that the color black is evil. For that reason, when someone is not good, the person is called the black sheep of the family. When someone shames us, we say he painted us black. Illegal market that we believe not only black people shop in that market is called black market. No one, to my knowledge, have seen devil or Satan, but the color of devil is black. So when a child is growing up, being bombarded with all these miseducation, what does that tell a child? What will be the perception of that child in the world, about the world itself? The answer is very simple. I am inadequate. That child will hate himself, will hate his own color. Above all, he will trust the spirits, the wizards, the ghosts, and distrust his own people. He will not believe in his own ability to do all those discoveries, to perform wonders, because he's been told that he's inferior. There are damning consequences for all this. A miseducated child, a child that feels inferior, is destroyed, is finished. He thinks less of himself and thinks the world of others. He distrusts his own ability to perform and trusts others' ability. He has a sense of inadequacy, while I believe others are more adequate. He will abandon his own banks and bank in a foreign country, God's own country. He will abandon his own education and send his own children to universities built by the ghosts, wizards. A polluted mind is finished. The question becomes, why are these people wizards, ghosts, spirits, and their lands of opportunity, and their countries, God's own countries? Our educators, our mentors, our leaders never really told us why. The reason is because the leaders in those countries invest in education of their own people, invest in research. That is how they achieve all these scientific discoveries. That is how they make their lands of opportunity, and their countries God's own country. There is investment in education, investment in research. There is no inferior race. There is no superior race. As far as we are concerned, there is only one race, and that is human race. Let's go into religion. My own religion tells me that all of us are created in the image of God. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. God created man in his own image. What does that tell me? It tells me that all of us have the image of God. All of us are given talents by the Creator. I believe in the multiple intelligence. Some are gifted in chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics, language, Bible knowledge, literature, English, name it. So what is the job of a leader? Those talented children should be given scholarships. Train them well, equip them well, so they will become spirits, ghosts, and wizards, and make our country what? God's own country. It's very important also to know that scientifically speaking, there is no superior race, there is no inferior race, and there is no pure race. What is the point? If a white man is sick and needs blood, and there is a blood of a black person, if they are of the same type, we give it to that white man and he will live. If a black person is sick and needs blood, and we have a blood from a white man, and if they are the same type, we give that black person white blood and he will survive. So what's up? The bottom line we keep on emphasizing is that there is difference in leadership styles. There is apparent damage going on in our society. We continue looking at the consequences. Present two doctors to a sick, typical black African. One is white, one is black. Ask that person, which one would you like to treat you? All things being equal, he's likely to pick white one. Why? Because being told that these individuals are divinely wizards, ghosts, spirits. They have been endowed by the Creator to be that way. So, why should you pick somebody who is not given by the Creator such wizardry? Look at leadership style across the globe. The leaders coming from the lands of opportunity, God's own country, bank in their own banks, keep their own children in their own schools, fund their own schools. Well, a typical African leader is likely to abandon his own institutions, abandon his own banks, bank abroad, send his kids abroad to go and study in God's own country, while never been thinking, how am I going to make my country God's own country? How are we going to achieve all these scientific discoveries? What do we consider African time? It is belief that a typical African is a habitual latecomer, very, very tardy. Why do we say that? Because when we, typical Africans, have meetings, conventions, conferences, many of us will come late. And we call it African time and laugh about it. But the same person who attends our meetings late, when such meeting is called by Japanese, the French, the Americans, the Canadians, the Swiss people, he will come there on time. So what does that tell us? African time is nothing but selective punctuality rooted in the feeling of inferiority complex. So we should think and continue thinking. Now, before I conclude, I have to say something. Some individuals might be listening to this and say, wait a minute, what is this guy talking about? I'm not miseducated. He is the only one who is being miseducated. Well, I do not in any way, shape or form say that all of us are educated to feel inferior. But I do know that a large number of us are miseducated to feel inferior. Let me leave you this story before I end. In 1999, I will never forget that year, I was traveling to Nigeria from the United States. I happened to sit close to a Japanese who has a computer business in Nigeria. We started talking about Nigerian issues, and this is what he told me. He said, Nigerians tend to hate themselves. and they love foreigners. I said to him, what do you mean by that? He said, well, watch what will happen when we get to the airport. Watch how Nigerian customs will search you, a Nigerian, and how they will search me, a foreigner. So, we kept our conversation going. When we descended in Nigeria, at the checkout, he went first. Nigerian customs asked him, what do you have in your briefcase? He told them, clothes, shoes. They said, okay, go ahead. Then he moved, waiting for me. I came to the same custom officers. They asked me, what do you have in your briefcase? I told them, my clothes, my shoes. Open it! That is what they told me. Open it! Wow. I said to the custom officer, do you see this Japanese guy? He said, yes. Do you know what he told me in the airplane? He said, what? He said that Nigerians love foreigners and hate themselves. And when I asked him why, he said, watch how your brother Nigerian will search you and how he will search me, a foreigner. The man said, okay, our guy, you can go. I said, no, it doesn't stop there. Inferiority complex is dangerous. It makes you hate your own people and like others. It makes you distrust your own people and trust others. In his inferior mind, a foreigner like Japanese can never bring a contraband in Nigeria. His wizard, his ghost, his spirit. Now, how do we resolve all this? Very simple, if you ask me. Very simple. When George Washington, the first president of the United States, was the president, there was no space exploration. There was no NASA. When JFK became the president in the 60s, he said that America must put man on the moon by 1970. Americans started pumping money into space exploration, doing all kinds of research. By 1969, a year before the prediction by JFK, Americans put man on the moon. What is the point? The answer lies in investing in education, in investing in research. When I was in secondary school in Nigeria, our high school principal, Mr. Anozie, used to tell us this: what Mokeke can do, Mokafo can do it. What one man can do, another man can do it. This is the young man's way of trying to bring motivation in all of us. But in a larger context, this is what it all boils down to. If you train Africans very well, equip them very well, fund their education, fund their research, they will become wizards like Japanese, Chinese, Americans, British, Canadians, Italians. If you train them properly, equip them properly, they will turn our countries God's own countries. They will turn our countries lands of opportunity. It shouldn't take Solomon's wisdom for anybody to get that. So we call on Nigerian institutions of government, Ghanaian institutions of government, Burundi, Rwanda, Sudan, Ethiopia, among others, to invest in education. Educate your own people. Train them. Fund research in your own country. In that case, we'll be working marching shoulder to shoulder to others. Because in the final analysis, we are all created equal. What Americans, British people, Japanese people, Italian people, among others, what they are doing in their own country is the right thing. We just have to learn from them and grow from them. It is called charity begins at home, not abroad. It is called patriotism, the love of a country. Of course, I'm going to end, but let everybody know that the detailed solutions I prescribed to liberate the African mind is well articulated in my book called Educated to Feel Inferior, the harsh realities of low self-esteem. I thank you guys for coming. May God help you and bless you. Most importantly, give you the wisdom and courage and boldness to liberate the African mind. For those who believe that their minds are not being miseducated, and you know that there are others, you know, that have this feeling of inferiority complex, you know the answer. You know the answer. A bad person is a bad person, not the black sheep of the family. Illegal market is illegal market, not black market. The bottom line is that all colors are the same. We need to do what others are doing. Investing in our education and in our research. That said, thank you very much. Thank you.